To a lot of people, 2016 was terrible. But on the bright side, if you're a gamer like myself, 2016 was fantastic. With a surprisingly large amount of amazing games, some new beautiful IPs being introduced to the world, and with VR finally becoming a thing, 2016 was amazing for us. So to celebrate, I'm here to unveil the top 10 games of 2016. Now yes, this is my personal list as to what I think the best games of the year are. However, I've done my best to make this list as unbiased as possible. The games on this list are ranked in order of their overall quality. The only games that are not eligible for this list are games that have been remastered or ported that came out this year. And before we start, you can pause this video and comment below what your top 10 games of the year are. Or you can wait till the end of the video, but, you know, it's up to you. But regardless, whenever you do post your top 10, I'll be there to read it. And no, I won't secretly judge you, I'll be honest. So, without further ado, these are the 10 best games of 2016. Number 10, Doom. In a time where we all miss simple, fun, and exciting first-person shooter campaigns, Doom came along and accomplished exactly what it set out to do. This reimagining of Doom is a violent, fun, addicting action-packed shooter that has you playing on smartly designed levels against varied, disgusting enemies with a wide array of badass weapons to the beat of a terrific, heavy jet metal soundtrack. Doom is pure, unadulterated fun with disgusting, unapologetic violence, a fantastic combat system, and loud music. Doom is one of the best pure action games we've seen in a long time. Number 9, Firewatch. Now it's time to talk about another first-person game that kind of plays completely different than Doom. Developed by the talented team of Campo Santo, Firewatch is a first-person story-driven adventure game that takes place in a beautiful forest that is yours to explore. Playing a regular dude named Henry, you're tasked with not only being on the lookout for fires and kicking out crazy teenagers, but there's an intriguing mystery going on that demands your attention. Unlike most walking simulators, Firewatch gives you control to explore this forest at your own pace. But even with its distinct art style, the reason Firewatch is on this list is because of its story and characters. The story may be full of intrigue and crazy plot twists, even if the last 15 minutes of the game were absolutely terrible. The two main characters, Henry and Delilah, are without any hyperbole some of the most realistically acted, well-written characters in all of gaming. The impeccable acting and writing, mixed with the choices you have over these characters, are reason enough to enjoy this modern classic. I see myself coming back to Firewatch every few years or so, and I hope you do as well. Number 8, Fire Emblem Fates. Whether you play Birthright, Conquest, Revelations, or all three versions, which is a good idea if you can, Fire Emblem Fates takes the well-established Fire Emblem formula of an addictive strategic combat system mixed with a fantastic cast of characters that you're in full control of. Although it does give you a tad more choice as to how the story plays out, and although there are some minor gameplay improvements, this is essentially just more Fire Emblem. But Fire Emblem's gameplay and core appeal is so undeniably fantastic that more of the same is perfect. Even if you're not a fan of turn-based strategy games like I was before I got into the series, and even if you've never played a Fire Emblem game before, if you have a 3DS, which if you don't, you definitely should, Fire Emblem Fates is a great place to start your journey, and it's one of those games that will occupy all your free time if you let it. Number 7, Final Fantasy 15. As someone who isn't invested in the Final Fantasy series as a whole, Final Fantasy 15 was amazing. This is a grand, epic adventure in a magical and captivating world where you go on a journey with a gang of 4 best friends. The chemistry between Noctis, Ignis, Gladiolus, and Prompto is the biggest reason as to why this game was so emotionally captivating for me. The presentation as a whole is fantastic, the combat system surprised me on all fronts by being a perfect blend of reflex and strategy, and I was surprised that it never felt clunky. Now, there are many problems with Final Fantasy 15, such as the story and the game as a whole feeling somewhat unfinished. Some of the linear sections were terribly boring, you do spend a lot of time just chilling in your car doing nothing, and a lot of the writing can be particularly, cringeworthy. But even considering its major flaws, when you take the entire experience as a whole, Final Fantasy 15 is an incredible adventure that'll have you lost in its memorable world, and will make you wish that real life was as grand and magical as this. You know, excluding the giant monsters. Number 6, The Witness. Out of all the games on this list, or quite frankly any of the major games that have been released in 2016, The Witness is a game that's absolutely not meant for everyone, and that's okay. even if this game isn't for you, you shouldn't deny how well made, unique, and artistically directed this game is. Created by Jonathan Blow, The Witness has you wander around an island that is one of the most visually pleasing locations I've seen in a long time, solving line puzzles on these square panels. On the surface, it's understandable as to why many gamers who haven't played The Witness think of it as an over-glorified puzzle game. But in all reality, The Witness is a thought-provoking, artistic experience that some people go as far to call it a language game, which I think is pretty smart. The Witness gives you the simple premise of solving mazes on a grid and expands upon this by teaching you how different variables and mechanics work in some of the most smart, most clever ways ever imaginable. This is truly a game unlike any other, in which you have to inspect your surroundings, your very own way of thinking, and the many subtle and not so subtle clues the game throws at you very carefully. It's also one of the only games where I had to take pictures on my phone and write in a notebook to keep track of the game as well as my own thought process. The Witness will teach you to think of things from different perspectives, and because of this, it's an experience I think everyone should attempt. Number 5. Dishonored 2. There are very few games, non-open world ones especially, that truly fool you into thinking that you're in another world. Dishonored 2 is a first-person action-adventure game that takes place in one of the most well-thought-out, immersive worlds I've had the pleasure of exploring, Karnaca. The distinct art style, environmental storytelling, the NPCs, and the massive lore in the world of Dishonored make Karnaca feel like a real place. And by giving you the complete freedom to use whatever weapon or magical power however you want, whether you're a full-out violent psychopath or a stealthy ninja, just like the original game, Dishonored 2 lets you interact with its world however you want. With 2 different playable characters that each have different skill sets and powers, multiple ways to play the game, and some of the best level design seen in a video game, Dishonored 2 is an impeccable video game experience. I just wish the story matched the quality of the rest of the game. Number 4. The Last Guardian. After personally waiting for this game for over 7 years, a lot of us have been anticipating this game for what seemed like our entire lives. And unfortunately, as you may have heard, many gamers and critics were very disappointed with this game due to its aged feel and supposedly terrible AI when it comes to controlling Trico. Now I promise that whatever I'm about to say is not coming out of pure nostalgia or rose-tinted glasses or whatever. After careful consideration, this is what I think about The Last Guardian. It is a broken masterpiece. Weird thing to say, I know, but if you put up with some of its issues, The Last Guardian tells one of the most emotional, fantastical, and artistic stories I've experienced that can only be told properly in a video game. The bond of relationship you create with this cat, dog, ferret, bird, hybrid thing Trico is one that feels real. Trico is the most realistic, lovable, and believable animal in a video game, and especially near the end of the game, he never felt like a character to me. Instead, he felt real. The game's art style is incredible, its platforming and puzzles can be a lot of fun, and the sheer scope of its story, as well as the themes it conveys, is a testament to how video games are such a unique art form. No, Trico's AI is not bad. It's actually amazing, just as long as you treat him like an actual animal and not a video game NPC. Yes, the controls are wonky and the camera is absolutely horrendous. But in the end, the only things I remembered are the wonderful, emotionally charged moments I had with this game. I've always imagined that no video game is worth 7 years of waiting, but The Last Guardian was worth it. This is a broken masterpiece. Number 3. Inside. Absolutely no spoilers here. Now, if you have not played Inside yet, then just buy it. Don't look it up, don't watch any gameplay, don't read any reviews, just buy it. Basically, all you need to know is that this is a platformer and acts as a spiritual successor to Limbo. The game only lasts 4 hours. It's one of the most memorable experiences I can recall in recent memory. This is one of the most polished games ever made in every regard. Every single frame in this game can be paused, posted as a screenshot, and be called a work of art. You have to play this game. For what it tries to accomplish, Inside is perfect. Number 2. Uncharted 4, A Thief's End. Without a doubt in my mind, I was 100% confident that Uncharted 4 would be my game of the year of 2016. There was no other game that I even considered to be my favorite game of 2016, not at all. But turns out that's not the case because Uncharted 4 is my number 2, but that's okay because no matter what, as a whole, Uncharted 4's presentation is currently the best to be found in video games, period. Telling the seemingly last story about one of gaming's best characters, Nathan Drake, Uncharted 4's graphics and visual prowess is unlike anything we've seen to date. Uncharted 4 truly is the best looking game ever made. The way you interact with the set pieces and the chaos on screen is incredible. It's hard to comprehend how Naughty Dog makes it possible to properly interact with these moments that can be considered as some of the most awe-inspiring moments in the series, and that should say a lot. The acting and writing makes the final story of Nathan Drake all the more emotional, and it makes these characters feel human. As a full experience, Uncharted 4's narrative doesn't disappoint. Yes, there are a couple boring moments and some weird pacing issues, but this is a cinematic experience. If you've grown up with the Uncharted series like I have, then you know that this was an emotional roller coaster. There isn't anything quite like the Uncharted series, and this truly is one of the best games of the generation. And before I reveal my 2016 Game of the Year, here are a few games that didn't make this list, but I'm still going to mention them anyways because they are amazing and you have to experience all of them. Res Infinite. Its colorful wireframe retro visuals, mixed with its buzzing electronic soundtrack, makes for a memorable, transcendent experience. But play this game in VR and it'll change your entire life. Zero Time Dilemma. A game you have never heard of, but one you absolutely have to play. While its visuals kind of suck, the story and characters are near perfect, which makes this a fantastic ending to one of my favorite video game series of all time. Seriously, if you want your life changed, ask me how in the comments. Dark Souls 3. Yay, more Dark Souls. Ratchet & Clank. If the original Ratchet & Clank came out in 2016, this is what it would look like. This is one of the best remakes of all time. And the last game I'm going to mention is Hyper Light Drifter. This was so close to making my top 10. Hyper Light Drifter has the outline of a classic Zelda game, but it's unique and creative in every other regard. The wonderful visuals, environmental storytelling, and amazing soundtrack make this game a modern classic. Never in my entire life have I ever thought that an online-only multiplayer shooter of any kind would be my game of the year of any given year, let alone even be considered to be in my top 10, and yes, I can tell that a lot of gamers, maybe even yourself, can't understand why so many gaming publications would even consider having Overwatch as their 2016 game of the year. I can understand why you think that, because like I said, I never thought I would do this, but it turns out that Overwatch is the best online multiplayer shooter I have ever played. With 23 playable characters and counting, each of them have their own distinct personality, motivations, charms, and likable qualities. Each character plays so differently that you could probably create an entire 7-hour single-player campaign for each character because they truly do play and feel so different from each other. The amount of depth there is to the actual gameplay is extraordinary, where every single character and ability can be countered by someone else if players are strategic enough. People who don't play Overwatch do like to point out about the low amount of actual content when it comes to maps and game modes. But not only is the gameplay so deep that when you play the game you don't even notice that, but Blizzard will be supporting this game for the next 4 more years with free maps, characters, modes, skins, events, literally everything for free. Except those loot boxes. Seriously, f*** those loot boxes. But regardless, even if you're not a fan of multiplayer only games like I am, after spending over 90 hours on this game so far, I can confidently say that Overwatch is a landmark achievement in video game design, and is also my 2016 Game of the Year. Well, there you go. These are my favorite games of 2016. Do you disagree with this list? Awesome, perfect, beautiful. If you haven't already, let me know what your favorite games of the year are. Soon I'll be posting a video of my most anticipated games of 2017 as well. I know it's a tad late to start a list like that, but I've been busy, so yeah, that's my excuse. Mwah! Thank you for watching, and stay fresh.